are here at CIMFest with Joe Cassavaugh of Puzzles by Joe. If you have questions in the chat, ask them. I'll try and monitor chat here, but I might not be able to. But if you have heckles, definitely put those in the chat. Whether I see those or not, we appreciate them. So, Joe, we had a great presentation today. It was very different from your usual chats. It was very much focused on the design side of the whole game dev process, but ended up with an interesting conclusion. So what led you to go this different route?
Well, first of all, I have given one talk, a classic talk from way back, called The Knob Theory of Game Design, which was all about game design, that I worked in my Rubik's Cube, and it was truly all about game design. But in general, yes, this was less clutter-centric than most of my talks, and kind of a surprise ending, I think. And what was the question? What led me to do this?
Yeah.
Well, Rod asked me, to do a talk, and I didn't want to do the normal talk, and I'd given two talks at one place, which I will not name, that didn't really have an audience. I then combined those two talks to do a podcast for the Unity Game Dev group, but that was private. And I thought about, doing that again, and I just no, these guys know my story. And I really don't know how lenses, popped up, but the core idea was basically, that the Book of Lenses tells you how to make a great game, but there's a bunch of lenses missing afterwards. And then basically, he okayed that, and then I did my usual, which is I do talks like people make pottery. So it just sort of starts with an idea, I start making pictures. And
so this is why AI can't give talks, just like it can't make pottery.
True. And in fact, the ending to this talk really came about. The purest part of the ending, I think I made 2 or 3 slides yesterday. Definitely the Holy Grail part was all put in yesterday, and the Lay's potato chip part was all put in yesterday. I just didn't feel it was strong enough. Also, I'm going to say this. The way I think of it is, I used to think that the game mechanic trumps all other things, other lenses in this case. But I actually went in and removed the word trump that was in my thing 3 times, and I said it kept just annoying me. I was going to leave it, but I then reworded it 2 or 3 different ways, so I did not use the expression trumps all.
Got it.
So.
All right. So you did actually have a controversial ending, which is that solopreneurship is the way to go, and avoid doing it as a team. So obviously a lot of folks, we have a team because I can do this skill, they can do that skill, and the solopreneur has the conceit that they can handle it all. Now, obviously, based on the win conditions, you've done that. So let's talk about why solopreneurship is right for you.
Well, other than you, I don't get along well with people. So there's a reason I'm a solo dev. So I didn't start out thinking of myself as a solo dev. I just felt, you could do the game by yourself. And then really but I hired an artist to do certain things. But once I learned how to bevel in Paint Shop Pro, I was off to the races, because I could at least make an interface that was good enough for me. And then I learned from different people. And really, I don't like to spend the time in the interface and so forth. And for the game mechanic, it has to be perfect, okay? But for everything else, good enough is good enough. And I can do good enough for just about everything. Plus, I cheat. It's all photorealistic objects. And occasionally, I'll make a new object set, but I get that object set by having somebody else's art that did it. And then I take that, and they might have, for instance, they had 100 smileys that I used. There was 100 white cubes. There was 100 of these things in this current one. Actually, there was only like 20 of them. But they were only 2 colors. They were, I don't think it was black and white. And there was 20 of these, what I think of Zen. So it's like circles and waves and have Zen things. And I turned that into 120, 150 object set by colorizing. So I have red versions, blue versions, and it really made this nice set of tiles that went well with my Mahjong layouts and stuff like that. And I do that each game. I make an abstract object set that either I make or I grab somebody else's abstract symbols and I turn it into it. And I might add borders, for instance. It might not. A lot of times you grab things off of, again, Shutterstock, and when you cut them up, they have either a rougher border or whatever, but I'll do something where I'll give them all the same background tile. So they look standard, but, correct.
Yeah, and that's interesting. As an aside, I think that's one of the main secrets to your game, and why it does probably help with brain health, is that it forces players to make memory associations with those objects. They're having to work that brain and create those paths in their brain to say, this is the crying smiley with red as opposed to the blue laughing.
And correct. And naming things. I did thing that was half memory where the screen scrolled and you had to find 3 objects here and then find them over there. And naming things, even when you're looking, helps. Even though my game is, search and find, it really does have a memory component that players don't have to realize is really happening. But it's your memory. If you think about it, how do you recognize 2 objects? Well, you've just seen the one, so the memory of it is in there somewhere, and that's what you're comparing it to. So you'll even, once you get better at my game, one of the things that happens is towards the end where you're looking for that last couple matches that's sitting behind a bunch of things that just don't match, you'll keep scanning, and what you're doing is you're scanning for even, like, it's almost like when you're trying to think of a word and you know it starts with S, but you don't know what the word is. Same way in clutter, what happens is you see an object and go, I'm pretty sure I saw that recently. And then you hunt and do it. And not all objects will tick that off on you. Sometimes you'll go, no, that was in the exact same, that's the object I saw. And other times you go, no, I think I saw that somewhere else. And you'll usually be right, so.
All right, last question. I'll go back to my previous topic before on the solopreneurship. You made your shout out to Unity during the presentation.
For sure.
Do you feel that tools like that make it easier to be a solopreneur? And you talked about, you use
100%.
Shutterstock, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So 2 things happened with Unity. I was able to use my development environment that I did in 2005 with this other company. So in 2009, I made a deal with them where I could still use that environment. And I don't like to slow down. I don't like to learn new things. But I knew Unity would make me faster. But a lot of the indie devs were complaining about different things about it. So I didn't want to bite that off yet. But I did hire people to do little mini games for me so I could start learning and start seeing what's going on. And then I finally hired somebody to actually do the prototype of Clutter. And what I got lucky with him, because he, personality type, intelligence, so many things, is we did pair programming where he got it working and then I went in and showed how he could improve certain things. And he learned from me doing that, but he taught me how to jump around Unity at the same time. And that is truly the biggest paradigm shift of everything. I use the example of you are not going to learn how to fly a jet plane from reading a book. You need somebody right next to you, telling you. And that's what he did. He got me to jump around Unity. And I will say one thing. What's really nice is by knowing all these indie devs and so forth that aren't old school like me, is I used to shock them with some of the things I did because they would learn sort of the Unity, not the Bible, but the best practices and stuff. And I would say, well, I want to shuffle the objects right in Unity. And they're like, no, you don't want to do that. And I'm like, no, I think I can do this, and I don't think it's a big deal. I think it'll just work. And really, that's, I kid now. I say to people, I am an expert in Unity, 2D locked camera, with Lean Tween and Text Mesh Pro. And I can get anything I want done by that. And I even do, I do shaders, but I do one shader that I've hacked to do anything I want it to do, and it works for me. So, Anyways,
Perfect.
Pleasure being here.
Hey,
for the
puzzlesbyjoe.com. You got to remember that sign off.
Puzzlesbyjoe.com. No apostrophe. No apostrophe.
The puzzles possess Joe.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Joe. Much appreciated.
Always
All
a
right,
pleasure, Andrew.
stay tuned. We're going to have another solopreneur up here next.